Before we go into the details of the development of midbrain, let us see some external features of the midbrain. This part is known as cerebral aqueduct. The portion of midbrain anterior to the cerebral aqueduct is known as cerebral peduncle, and the posterior portion is known as tectum. This cerebral peduncle is divided into three zones. The part just in front of the cerebral aqueduct is known as tegmentum, intermediate part is known as substantia nigra, and the anterior most part is known as crus cerebri. On the dorsal aspect of midbrain, there are two elevations. These elevations are known as superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. The lateral wall of mesencephalon is divided by sulcus limitans into ventral basal lamina and dorsal alar lamina. The alar lamina together with the roof plate forms the tectum of the midbrain. Basal lamina together with the floor plate forms the tegmentum of midbrain. The central canal of mesencephalon gradually gets narrowed out and forms the aqueduct of Sylvius. In the basal lamina of midbrain, two groups of motor neuron develop. In the medial group, there is oculomotor nucleus rostrally and trochlear nucleus caudally, whereas in the lateral group, there is a Edinger-Westphal nucleus of third cranial nerve. The trochlear nucleus gives fibers of the trochlear nerve which supplies superior oblique muscle of the eyeball. And this trochlear nucleus is thought to be derived from the telescopic incorporation from the isthmus rhombencephaly into the caudal part of mesencephalon. The oculomotor nucleus supplies the remaining muscles of eyeball, which are inferior rectus, medial rectus, superior rectus, inferior oblique, and levator palpebral superioris muscle. Both these nuclei, oculomotor nucleus, represent the general somatic efferent column. The lateral group of nucleus forms the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, which represent general visceral efferent column, and fibers from this nucleus supplies the sphincter pupillae and ciliaris muscles of the iris. The cells of alar lamina of mesencephalon invaded by the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve from the isthmus rhombencephaly. This nucleus represents the general somatic afferent component and receives proprioceptive sensations from the muscles of mastication, facial muscles, and probably the ocular muscles. The cells of alar lamina forms an elongated mass on both the sides of midline. These elongated masses are divided by transverse groove into two parts, superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. Superior and inferior colliculi represent the special somatic afferent component. The superior colliculi act as a reflex center for the vision, and inferior colliculi act as a reflex center for the hearing. Afterwards, corticopontine, corticospinal, and corticonuclear fibers from the cerebral cortex invade the marginal zone of this basal lamina and form the crus cerebri. The red nucleus and substantia nigra are thought to be derived from the migration of the cells of alar lamina.